Joining us now to discuss is political analyst Mark Halperin, along with Republican strategist and the chairman of the Fort Bend County Republican Party of Texas, Bobby Eberle. Good afternoon to both of you. Mark, I'd like to start with you and Tulsi Gabbard's confirmation. It seemed for a while there, Tulsi Gabbard, it was iffy. It was a 50-50 chance that she would get confirmed. And then Susan Collins joined her ranks to push her out of committee to the full floor. I was wondering what happened during the last 2 or 3 weeks when things did not look good for Tulsi, but now all of a sudden look most likely that she will get confirmed. What changed?
Yeah, I think 3 things. One, President Trump made it clear, directly and indirectly, that these nominees mattered to him and that he considered it a test of their loyalty to his successive administration. 2, the team around Tulsi Gabbard, or so-called Sherpas, engaged in tactics and strategies that were very smart. They mobilized MAGA. They mobilized Gabbard's own base of support. They figured out a way to kind of the carrot and stick to get the wavering senators on board. And then finally, I think, like with Pete Hegseth, she helped herself with her own testimony, with her own performance, her own one-on-one dealings with senators that gave them the necessary comfort to support her.
Bobby, I'm going to shift the conversation a bit to the buyout of the federal employees that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are trying to enact. As we know, a federal judge is debating that on its merits right now, whether it's legal or not. Kind of what is your analysis? Is the chief executive officer of the United States of America, Donald Trump, allowed to hire and fire those within the executive branch?
Well, absolutely. But in the federal government these days, you have this veil that they're untouchable. You know, if this was a private enterprise and a company was having hard times or realized they're inefficient or there's some corruption, they might offer people a severance package, you know, leave on a note that accommodates them, and then there'd be layoffs. This is what we're looking at with the federal government. 65,000 have gone for it already. But basically, this lawsuit is the Trump administration is being too mean. They're getting rid of us. They're saying they might fire us. Well, that's reality. That's real life. That's what happens when you have a workforce that doesn't work and that is inefficient and spends money on programs that DOGE is finding out shouldn't be spent. So this is well with, and keep in mind this also. If we go from now to September, these people would be being paid anyway. This is just a way to facilitate them getting out of the way so good people could be in there, or we can downsize the government. And I must say, this approach that DOGE is taking is so much more politically to the point, on the razor's edge than before. So many times the Democrats would complain about, oh, we're cutting this program, or, you know, you're not feeding the hungry. Now they're just going after inefficiency in general, large staffs, corruption, waste, and fraud. The American people, that resonates with the American people, and it's 100% on politically.
But Mark, isn't it true? I mean, there are a lot of federal workers that are concerned that if they take this buyout offer, and they might want to take this buyout offer, that they actually won't get paid in September.
Yeah, I mean, they're concerned about that in the abstract. They're concerned about that because this is a chaotic process, and they're concerned about that because they've read about Donald Trump's business history. So I think the numbers of those taking the buyout are not as high as had been hoped or projected. And I think that's a big reason, from talking to federal workers and reading about them, it's a big reason why the numbers aren't where they want them to be.
You know, Bobby, we've seen Democrats' reaction over the last few weeks to, you know, cutting waste, fraud, and abuse out of the federal government. Just on Friday, you had Maxine Waters, for example, storming the gates of the Department of Education demanding to enter. That was shut down. The doors were locked. She was not allowed. But my question to you is, what was Maxine Waters' plans? If the doors were open, what was she going to do? What have you thought of the Democrats' response to these cuts, and are they shooting themselves in the foot by, you know, taking it to the streets?
Well, I think they are, and they're on their heels. And to Mark's point, Mark made a good point about, you know, the uncertainty with these layoffs and this potential, because everything has gotten stirred up. The federal workers, they don't know how to react. And yes, the numbers at 65,000, that's about 3% of the workforce. Trump administration shooting for 5 to 10. But it's the reaction of the Democrats, I think, that are driving some of this chaos and this uncertainty. When Waters and them showed up, It was just so funny because one of the comments outside that door as they were harassing the security guard was, hey, we're not a bunch of thugs and thieves. And yet this is what DOGE is all about, is looking for fraud, waste, and corruption. And they seem to be finding quite a bit.
You know, Mark, what do you think of the Democrats' response? Hakeem Jeffries said something today that I found notable. He said that, you know, Democrats need to learn to work to lower the prices for everyday Americans, because everyday Americans are still struggling with inflation and tabletop issues. And I thought, wow, that makes sense. That is true. That could be a lesson learned from the November election. But by and large, the Democrats seem to be off their game, and there doesn't seem to be much resistance. And the resistance that we're seeing is almost laughable to the American public. You saw the YouGov CBS poll. Most Americans are very happy with the job that Donald Trump is doing thus far, much more than they were in his first term.
Well, most Americans are happy. And of course, most of the policies the president's pushing now are very popular with the majority of the American people, including Democrats who overlook their policy agreements because they don't like Donald Trump's style. I think that in the short term, it's hard for Democrats to have a lot of credibility saying we know how to bring prices down, because they were supportive of an administration that failed to do that for 4 years. So there are Democrats who are playing slightly a longer game and think if not at the end of this year, at the beginning of next year, when the midterms are, you know, more front and center, that they'll be able to present a compelling argument for how Donald Trump has failed on the economy, if he has, and how they can do better. But right now, it's a very tough argument to take, particularly when Donald Trump is being so active and dominating the attention.
I mean, that is true. I mean, every single day there's new headlines that are grabbing the Americans' attention. The latest being Donald Trump's executive order coming sometime this week to ban plastic straws. Bobby, what do you think of that? And, you know, renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, something that he signed as he was flying over the Gulf of America yesterday on the way to the Super Bowl.
Well, you know, this is what, you know, he's come on so strong. This is 3 weeks into the term. He's full steam ahead, all gas, no brakes. But it's this interesting combination of policy and personality and trolling. And just when you know, he's got the Democrats all flustered on policy that they disagree with, especially, you know, the progressive left, then he throws in something that I think is just made to just go up their spine. And he says, well, take that and see how they react. And you know, the Democrats do need to play this long game. They do need to figure out longer term strategies. But in the meantime, they keep coming back to, hey, let's just go after Donald Trump. He's bad. Elon Musk's a billionaire and he's unintelligent. And we're going to take to the streets to protest going after fraud and waste. The disconnect is so obvious. And the American people are a common sense group. And everything right now with President Trump's style still is under that umbrella of common sense policy.
Yeah, no, 80-20 issues. I'm all for plastic straws. I don't know who created a paper straw. They melt in your mouth. It's so bad. Now Donald Trump, he just needs to tackle daylight savings time, and you got a winning agenda. All right, Mark Halperin, Bobby Eberle, thanks so much for joining with me.
All right, friends, thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And before you go, please hit that subscribe button above. Once you do, tell your friends, share it, spread the word about the 13-minute news hour so we can keep growing. And for more great content, check out these videos right here, and I'll see you next time.